back, everyone, to the 80th episode of the Tundra cast. And today I just have Q with me.
Hello.
And so the trade deadline has passed. It was a pretty fun week. The actual deadline day sucked ass.
As
There's
expected.
like, there's nothing, no trades at all on Friday besides like four or five like decent ones. But the actual week was really fun. We got a ton of action, probably the most action we've gotten in like forever. Um, so yeah, we're gonna go over trades that we didn't make videos on, and the first one we're gonna talk about is Shane Gostisbehere going to the Carolina Hurricanes in exchange for a third round pick.
All right. Well,
Uh,
yeah, go ahead.
so I mean, like, you know what Gostisbehere is at this point, right? He's just kind of like a power play guy. Not great defensively. So far for the Carolina, actually, he has 4 points in 2 games. And if I check NHL.com, I'm gonna guess all that came on the power play, and it did. So there you go. Kind of just reinforces the point. But yeah, I mean, like I think Arizona could have easily gotten more because he was actually having a decent year. Um, I don't know Carolina really needed a defenseman. I would have thought they would go for like a top six forward to, maybe push down Kotkaniemi to the third line, but they didn't do that. But I mean, it's not a bad trade for Carolina. It's just not what I expected them to do.
Yeah, I agree. Like, a third round pick isn't exactly a lot to give up considering that Provorov was having a decent year. He does, like, fit in on just, like, their bottom pair. He can be a power play quarterback. So it's not like they lost anything here, but they didn't gain what they really needed, is what I think.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
still, it's not a bad trade in any sense.
Yeah, it's whatever. But the next trade is kind of it was one that I questioned when I went down. Philip Hronik went to the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for a 2023 first round pick. I believe that's the Isles pick, and a 2023 second round pick. And I don't understand this from Vancouver's side because I thought that they should be stockpiling picks because I mean they should rebuild, but they're giving up picks to I guess contend for next year, and like they're already over the salary cap for next season. So I don't know what the hell they're doing. It's odd. It's not like Heroic's a bad player, but like that's not a move a rebuilding team should do.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. They uh, should be keeping like assets around there. I mean, Hronik's not exactly old either, but at the same time, he's not gonna be helping him, uh, like a lot in the future because he's not exactly amazing. But yeah, it's a nothing move really. It probably won't affect anyone, but yeah, I'm confused on the direction of Vancouver after this trade because they should be, like you said, stockpiling. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean like he'd be a good fit with Hughes, I'm guessing. But yeah, I don't know what they're doing. It's a good trade for Detroit. I mean, they still got Sider on the right hand side. Simone Edmondson's gonna come up, so they do got
Yeah.
defense prospects to push out Hronik. So I guess that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know what Vancouver's doing. Once again, terrible management by them. The next trade we're gonna talk about, and it's another head scratcher one. It would be so nice if we had Nick on here to talk about this, but he's not, sadly. But Mikhail Granlund for a second round pick.
Yeah, that's first of all, it's a decent amount to give up for Pittsburgh, who's they're like coming to the end of their like they're at the end of their window. This is like the last possible year that they could possibly contend, and um, at the end of their window they are selling, which okay, fine, but at the same time, a second round pick is a decent amount to give up for a player who hasn't exactly been amazing. Uh, like if I pulled up Granlund's stats, because honestly I haven't even thought about him for I don't even know how long now.
I'll tell you, his analytics are trash.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know where exactly the rationale for getting someone like Granlund is, because he's not really gonna help the team all that much. If they were smart and keep him in the bottom six, because he's not gonna elevate their top six,
Not at
and
all.
and giving us a second round for a bottom six forward isn't horrible, but at the same time, he's not a good one. So I don't really know what Pittsburgh is trying to do here. But Nashville gets a second round pick for a player that isn't going to work in their future. So good on them. But yeah,
I mean, they're currently losing 3-0 to the Blue Jackets in the first period. So,
oof.
yeah, I don't know what's up with Pittsburgh this season. It's not like they have a bad team either. Like,
Yeah,
Crosby's still kicking ass. Malkin is still good. Gensel, Rust, Zucker's actually having a good year. Um, they got rid of Kapanen, who kind of sucks too. Like, I don't know what the hell is wrong with the Pittsburgh Penguins. I don't know. And like you said, Granlund's not going to elevate their top six, and like he's an upgrade in the bottom six, but he's still not a guy that's gonna push the needle. He's not gonna push them to like a second, third round appearance. So yeah, it's weird. I kind of feel bad for Pens fans, even though they have won back-to-back cups. I know that's weird to say, but yeah, I just don't know what the hell is going on there. And are they playing 8 defensemen today? No, okay, so no, it's 7 defensemen. I
okay.
I saw that. If they were playing 8 defensemen, I'd be like, what the hell? But
No, because I
yeah,
think with Pittsburgh, you should not be wasting 1 year that you have with like any year at all that you have with Crosby and Malkin. And
yeah,
so far, this is not a waste just yet because they still haven't. They're still in the playoff hunt, but
they'll probably still get in. I
and
would
yeah,
I would think.
I still think they're gonna get in, but it's cutting it close. And obviously against Boston, they're in really tough. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be tough for them. But it it's impressive that they managed to keep such a good team for so long. It's just that
Oh yeah.
Crosby and Malkin sticking around at the same like at such a high level is impressive for them, and that kind of messes up probably the Penguins' timeline because they weren't expecting that. I don't think anyone was. So yeah, I think that's probably part of it.
Yeah. Next trade. I mean, I'm not surprised that this player got traded. I'm just kind of surprised that this team had the cap space to get him. Tyler Bertuzzi in exchange for a first round pick and a fourth round pick. Tyler Bertuzzi is going to Boston, 50% retained. So I think he's making like 1.75 or 1.85 for Boston. I want to
Two
say.
point 375.
Well, that is a bargain for them. And I mean, we know how good Boston is, man. Like Pastrnak, Marchand, Bergeron, Krejci, Coyle, DeBrusque, Zaka, Hall, Marchand. Now they're adding Bertuzzi. They added Halfway. They added Orlov. This team is so deep.
Yeah,
And
there's no holes anywhere.
and I forgot about Nick Foligno and Linus Ullmark and Jake and Jeremy Swayman. Um, yeah, like this team should make it to the Cup Finals, but I mean, President's Trophy curse is a thing, so maybe they lose in the first round like Tampa.
Maybe,
That
hopefully, but like I don't see it because this team might be the best built team. Oh well,
and
actually,
the
no, they got lucky. I'm not gonna lie, they got really lucky for whatever reason. There's like so many good players that shouldn't be this good, but um, yeah, this might be the best team like ever in the NHL. That's how crazy good they are. So
I mean they're lucky that Bergeron and Krejci signed for a combined 3.5 million.
uh-huh.
Like, yeah, I mean Marchand's making 6. Pasternak is going to make 11.25 next year, so they're gonna lose pieces and they're definitely not going to be as deep next year. But I mean, you know what? This like I respect what Don Sweeney has done. Right, you have a great team, you have cap space, goal, and we're seeing Toronto did the same thing this year. They got O'Reilly, they got Lafferty, Charlie, McCabe. You know,
And then
um,
everyone got injured.
yeah. I mean that's kind of like that's now that I think about it, like back in 18-19 when Tampa had that huge season. Off the top of my head, I don't think they made any big changes. They kind of kept the team relatively the same. I mean, you can argue that kind of cost them because, uh, what did cost them? They got fucking swept. But like, yeah, I respect Boston. You had a great team, entered the deadline, and you come out even better. They're probably gonna break the NHL record for wins. Um, yeah, the teams in the East should be scared as hell because there's not a weakness. There's not a weakness. They probably have the best step up front. their blue line is top like three or top two minimum in the NHL, and they got two goalies playing unbelievable. So,
And the
and once
crazy
again,
thing
like,
is, other contenders in the East don't really have weaknesses either. It's just that
yeah,
Boston's strengths are even better.
Boston is too good.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't even talked about Bertuzzi yet. I mean, like he had 14 points in 29 games this year in Detroit. Last season he had 62 and 68, had 30 goals, and like he's kind of like the perfect Boston Bruin. Like he's kind of an asshole on the ice, and he can just score, get on the opponent's skin. Like this is a perfect fit for Bertuzzi.
Yeah, I
So
think so too. There's no way
yeah,
around that. And first round pick, the condition is top 10 protected, and a fourth round pick, it's not a crazy amount to give up.
it's
Yeah, I
no,
think it's
yeah,
about fair to be honest. And yeah, he's probably gonna go back. Not maybe not go back to Detroit, but he's leaving Boston in free agency. That's no doubt.
yeah.
But for a rental to help them in this playoffs where they are the clear cup favorites, it's not bad at all.
I agree. Next trade, Jonathan Quick's going to Vegas for Michael Hutchinson and a seventh round pick. I
Well,
mean,
yeah, Quick was never gonna play in Columbus.
he
Let's
might
be
have just
honest.
retired on Columbus. To be honest, I don't think he would have played a single game for them. But I mean, Vegas gets like veteran goalie for the playoffs. I mean, he won't be the starter. It should be Logan Thompson.
Yeah,
I mean, it's whatever. I mean, we made a video on the Quick trade when it first announced. They did him dirty. That's for sure. And yeah, it's whatever.
yeah, it's not a huge deal, and I think he'll just go and sign a one-day deal with LA at the end of the season and retire.
And yeah, I agree. The next major trade was Max Domi going to the Dallas Stars in exchange for a second round pick and Anton Hudobin. Um, I'm kind of shocked about how low the price was because Max Domi was actually having
A
a
very
really,
good
really good
season.
year.
Yeah, yeah, I
Like he
think
was probably Chicago's, arguably their best forward all year.
yeah, like a lot of these players are fetching first-round picks. I thought Domi would maybe not first because the asking price was always like a second and a couple seconds is what is what I think, but
Yeah,
just uh just 1 second is really not that much, and Kudobin's not exactly. Eh, he's pretty bad. Let's not try to skirt around it. So but basically only a second round pick. He was only in there for cap reasons, I would think, right?
yeah,
Um,
I think so. Yeah, they make him around the same.
yeah. So yeah, Max Domi is for a second round pick is a steal if you ask me.
Yeah, and Dallas just keeps adding to their forward core. I mean, you know how good defensively they are. They have a top 10 goalie at least in Jake Ottinger. But yeah, they need to add some scoring up front. You know, Pavelski, Robertson, and Hintz can't do all the scoring, even though Jamie Benn has been better. But you know, guys like Marchman haven't been great this year. You know, they added Dadonov. They got young guys in Johnson Del Andrea, but they really needed more secondary scoring. And they got Max Domi, who's pretty cheap. He'll be a UFA. Um, I mean, Max Domi has basically played everywhere now. He's like the
Yeah.
new journeyman. I would have like he. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes to some random ass team in free agency, but you know what? He's a perfect playoff type player, right? He's
Yeah.
gonna bang
He's
and crash the net, get under the opponents again. I like this move for Dallas. For Chicago, I mean,
it.
it's a fine return, but you could have gotten more.
Yeah. I think honestly, it's this trade like it was kind of late because I thought Domi would go earlier as soon as top six forwards like Meyer and O'Reilly, even like Nyquist and stuff like that they were off the board. I thought Domi was like the next best option. Teams would be gunning for him. It
Yeah,
didn't expect I expected there'd be a lot more competition, which would drive up his price, but maybe they didn't get that. I thought like a team like Carolina would have been on him at that point, but
oh yeah,
apparently
for
not.
sure.
So yeah, a second round pick is probably not what I would have wanted for him, but it's not the worst either. So if you have to give Chicago like a grade, it's like B minus. Sure, they didn't lose anything that they wanted, but they also didn't gain enough. So yeah,
Yeah, I agree. The next trade was the first one of the actual deadline day, and let me tell you, once again, the actual deadline day sucked ass. Not a lot of major trades happened, so this might be a short ass podcast
yeah,
compared to what we did last year, where it was like I think 50 minutes because last year's deadline was really good. There's the Raquel trade that happened that day.
yeah. Like one
The
hour,
top,
1 hour's
the
worth of stuff filtered in after. So
Yeah. But yeah, the one last week was not really entertaining, but that's okay. Jacob Vrana is going to the St. Louis Blues in exchange for Dylan McLaughlin. I don't know who that is in a seventh round pick. Wings retain 50% of Vrana's salary, and I love this for St. Louis. No, Vrana obviously has a
Talent.
personal. He's incredibly talented. I'm pretty sure he's like in the past few years, every single year, he's top five in 5v5 goals scored per 60. The guy is a goal scorer. But no, obviously this year he entered the NHLPA Players Assistant Program, came back, didn't do a whole heck of a lot in the AHL. But this is a low risk, high reward for St. Louis. You're getting him at 2.625 for the next 2 years. He's still relatively young at 27. And now that you traded Tarasenko's, you traded the O'Reillys, you traded the Ataris, you he can play in your top six with guys like Thomas or Kyrou or what's his name, Buchnevich, right? He'll get the ice time, and I think he'll thrive there. I think he needed a change of scenery. He'll get it in St. Louis. Once again, you practically gave up nothing. It wouldn't surprise me if he returns back to a 30, maybe even a 40 goal scorer there.
Yeah, he definitely fits in with their timeline more too. They moved out a lot of older players. Yeah, I think Vrana was it was a flyer, but it's a flyer that really can't hurt them. I don't see it hurting them at all. So yeah, Vrana, even if he ends up being just bottom six, which is like his very very worst floor, then
Yeah,
it's not even that bad because he's only at 2.625 for the next 2 years, which is completely serviceable for a bottom six forward.
right. Nick Bonino's back in Pittsburgh. I think they traded like a seventh and like a fifth rounder. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. A seventh and a fifth rounder. Basically nothing. And once again, on the topic of what the hell is Pittsburgh doing?
I I wish I knew because well, this is obviously them trying to help with their push at the end, but Nino's not all that good anymore. Like he wasn't what he was back then, so I don't really understand.
Yeah, just like a fourth liner at this point. It's like they're trying to reunite the 2016, 2017 Cup winning team, and I don't know. That hasn't really worked out in the past. Just ask Chicago when they brought back like Vlad and Sharp and Arduya, just it tanked them, man. It
Yep.
wasn't good. Um, the next trade on here, Curtis Lazar, that's whatever. Let's
Yeah.
talk about Vlad Nemestikov because it seems like he's been like kind of like Domi right now. He's played for like freaking everybody at this point.
Yeah, and he's a still a good player and he's still very serviceable. So I think he'll, unless he can really nail down a top six spot, which I think he's capable of, if he
Yeah,
gets the chance, then I don't think he's gonna keep moving around because uh, he plays too well to be in the bottom six. I think then and then but he can't quite play well enough to get a top six role. That's kind of what I'm getting from him. That's why he gets moved around a lot.
yeah,
So yeah, Winnipeg has a pretty good top six. There's a lot of decent players in there, but some of them have been wavering a lot. So Nemesnikov has a chance to come in and like stabilize that for them, um, and play in the top six. I really hope to play him in the top six because he deserves it, in my opinion.
yeah.
But yeah,
I
it
mean, I mean,
uh,
like he's a guy that you would like to have, right? You know
yeah,
what you're getting in him, right? He's probably a 25 to 30 point guy, 15 goals, and he's gonna come cheap.
yeah,
That's what he is, and that's a good player.
yeah. I think that's a good player. I mean, there's not much. He's a decent defensive forward too, so you get a
Yeah.
lot out of him, and he's still cheap, and he could be more if you give him the chance to be. So yeah.
I mean, in the past 5 years, he's played for 7 teams.
Oh my God.
Tampa, New York, Ottawa, Colorado, Detroit, Dallas, went back to Tampa, and now Winnipeg. He's gonna. I mean, I really wish he played for San Jose at least once before getting traded, just to keep up that number, but he didn't.
Ah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, they got a fourth round pick. That's basically what his value is every single year, and he'll go into free agency and sign another $2.5 million contract because that's what he is. Dmitry Kulikov got sent to Pittsburgh for Brock McGinn in a third round pick. I'm pretty sure McGinn has a terrible contract. Let me see.
1.625. Yeah, he's not even playing in the NHL. So
For 2 more years after this, by the way, Brock McGinn.
yep. Not great.
I mean, like Kulikov's good, but once again, like you're if Crosby and Malkin, these are the moves you're making, like
Yeah, there could definitely be so much more.
Penguins fans, Ron Hextall, you got another year left with him.
Yeah,
Uh, Jordan Greenway got sent to Buffalo for a second and a fifth round pick. That's kind of high for Jordan Greenway.
I thought so too. I was surprised.
Like, let me see. He's making 3 million for the next 2 more years after this. He has 7 points in 45. Oh wow.
Yeah, look, Greenway looked like he was going to be such a good player. He had the frame, he was like skilled with it too, but for whatever reason, it just never converted. And I mean, he's with a team now that has a lot of skilled players in
Oh
Buffalo,
yeah.
so maybe he can complement them because that's usually what the big kind of skilled guys do. Um, but man, second and fifth is a lot to give up. Even if it was for like, oh, he has potential, that's still a lot to give up.
Yeah. I mean, last few years, right? He had 27 points last season, 32 and 56 in the bubble year, 28 and 67 the year before that. So he's shown that he can put up decent third line numbers, but for whatever reason, just fell off this year. And like even if he was that 3 point guy this year, a second still a bit too much. But we'll see. Buffalo's been good this year. Tage Thompson is a freaking beast. Dylan Cousins is also a beast. They have, like you said, the players to elevate those, big body wingers. So, if it works out, then it works out. We'll see. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna doubt. I'm done doubting Buffalo's moves. They got smart management. They probably they see something. If they see something in Jordan Greenway, I won't judge them for it.
yeah.
The next trade. Oh my God, there was just a bunch of nothings. John Klingberg is going to Minnesota, and he got absolutely nothing in return. Andre Schuster, a fourth round pick, and a guy named Nikita Nesterenko. I don't know who that is. Um,
And that's
eh,
probably what he deserves because he's not good.
yeah, he's been absolute garbage this year. That was like, I like the idea of John Klingberg signing a 1 year deal, like a show me contract, but like you said, he's been horrible. It just didn't work out for some reason. Like even last season in Dallas, where Dallas was actually a good team last year, he was still like a -28. Like I don't get how this guy fell off that much. Like he used to be such a stud when he was younger.
Yeah, I don't know. Like your defensive ability usually gets better as you get older,
I
but
feel it got worse.
oh my god, bro, he's like the worst defensive defenseman in the league.
I think he might be like the worst defensive player in like the cap era somehow. It's been that bad.
Oh god.
It's been horrible. I mean, like, there's no risk here to Minnesota, right? They gave up absolutely crap for him. Just play him on your third player, play him power play time, and guess there you go. Like,
I think that's
no.
the idea. So yeah.
I'm really curious to see where he goes in free agency. I'm really curious. I want to know what happens to him
Mhm.
because this is a guy that wanted a 7x7. He settled for a 7x1, and it blew up in his face. So
Yeah. And he was good. He probably deserved it too. So
yeah.
I yeah, it's a big drop off for this guy.
The next trade, the Ritchie brothers got traded for each other
That was
as
funny.
well as Stetcher and Connor Mackey got swapped. Um, I don't really get what Calgary is doing here. Like they're not great. They're not making the playoffs, and Nick is better than Brett, but like
It's
you know,
marginal at best. It's not really
yeah.
gonna help them all that much.
Also, like I mean, Nick's like the perfect Daryl Sutter player. So
Maybe.
it's gonna be funny when they miss the playoffs and they name Daryl Sutter GM. Please let that happen. It seems like he's in control of these moves. It makes no sense to bring Nick Ritchie in. It makes zero sense.
Yeah, that's I always found that weird where coaches should be like conforming to what the GM makes the team like, right? And not the other way around, like to an extent, but still not the other way around because um if you're giving up players and assets that are going the other way that could be helpful in the future. The coach doesn't really have that foresight. They just look at right now and see, I like this player. And a lot of times when it's someone like Daryl Sutter who doesn't really understand modern hockey, then you have an issue. So I don't know. That's just my opinion. Where the um, GM should not be answering to the coach.
Yeah, I agree with that. And yeah, that is basically it. That's all that happened on Friday. There is nothing. Um, no, I think we only been recording for 25 minutes. So to extend this a bit longer, because I don't want to end it right now. I want to look at the current standings, and
Yeah.
I think we did this around a month and a half ago when we talked about the Boudreaux firing, but I want to do it again here. Um, no, the East wildcard is very interesting to me because the Isles at the top spot. They have 72 points in 65 games. Pittsburgh has 3 games in hand, but they're 1 point back of them. And Buffalo and Ottawa are both tied, 68 points in 62 games. And they're both 3 points back of the Penguins, 4 points back of the Islanders. Now, here's where it gets fun. Buffalo plays the Islanders today. So if Buffalo wins their game, they're 2 points back of New York with 3 games in hand.
That's close, bro.
Yeah. And I mean, Florida is still in it somehow. They're also 3 points back of Pittsburgh. Washington is also tied with them, but they've played the most games by far. Buffalo has 3 games in hand on Washington, so Washington's probably out of it.
Yeah.
So I think there's 5 teams fighting for 2 spots: the Islanders, the Penguins, the Sabres, the Sens, and the Panthers. Who do you think will get the final 2 spots in the wild card race?
Ooh, okay, so I'm a pencil in Pittsburgh. I think they are. Man, you know what? Pittsburgh and Buffalo are gonna get these last 2 spots,
Ooh,
because the in the last 10, I think so Pittsburgh's been worse than the Islanders in the last 10, but obviously they have the most games in hand. I do just
yeah.
think that they have the overall better team, but the Islanders have kind of wavered. They're 5-5 if you're just looking at losses and wins, and I I don't really see much other than Sorokin really. He's keeping them in too many games, and eventually he's gonna fall off later off in the season.
Yeah.
And even if they do make it into the playoffs, he's played so much. Obviously they have Varlamov, but he's nowhere near what he used to be. And yeah, I don't think the Islanders are that good of a team. And obviously they have 3 games above over Buffalo. If you do the math, that's 4 point difference. Buffalo has to go 2-1 just to catch up.
Yeah.
I don't think that's too hard for them. They've been streaking a bit lately, 6-4-0 in their last 10. It's decent.
I mean, like, today's game is huge. Like, if the Sabres win this game, like, they're 2 points back, 3 games in hand, right? I think whoever wins today kind of decides who makes it.
Oh wow.
I'm gonna lean towards Pittsburgh, and you know what? I've been rooting for them all season. I want Buffalo to make the playoffs, and I
It's
just
been
think,
too long.
I think they get in. The Islanders, it's weird. Like, the Islanders aren't really a good team. They did add Horvat, but he has 8 points in 13 games. I'm pretty sure Beauvillier is outscoring him right now in
Yeah.
Vancouver, which is pretty funny. But, Buffalo. I mean, Tage Thompson has just been a freaking animal, man. Jeff Skinner looks rejuvenated. Darlene, in my opinion, should win the Norris. It's gonna
Oh,
be
you
Carlson,
think?
but
I
Darlene's
thought it was
been
gonna be Fox. It's been amazing.
Fox has been great too. But I mean, Darlene should be in contention for like
Oh,
at least the
for sure,
top 3.
for sure.
I mean, Tuck's been great. Cousins has been good. Middlestyle looks great. No, Power should be in contention for the Calder. And like, even their goalies, Craig Anderson, out of all people, has been
Yep.
good. He's a 918. He's
Mhm.
like 42. He's been good.
Yeah. And obviously that's not something they want to have to rely on in the future, but for
Yeah.
now, it's something.
And like, I think Crosby and Malkin will ultimately carry the Penguins into the playoffs. I just can't see the Penguins missing. I just think there's no way they'd miss. That would just be funny.
There's absolutely no chance that players of the caliber of Crosby and Malkin, even though they're so old, they're still so amazing. They're not gonna let that happen. There's no way, right?
There's no way. So yeah, when the Islanders miss the playoffs again, that'd be funny. It wasn't. I just still don't know why they fired Trotz. It made no. It
Yeah.
wasn't his fault. No, maybe if your bottom six didn't consist of Clutterbuck, Martin, and Zizekas, who knows? You would have been a better team. And even the West gets interesting. I mean, oh no, never mind. The West is boy, that wild card. I mean, the West might be set actually. Just depends on the seeding because
Yeah,
um
no. I think Nashville's not gonna make it.
Nashville. I mean, Nashville's not going to make it. Calgary is tied with Nashville, but Nashville has 3 games in hand. Oh yeah, it looks over for Nashville and Calgary.
Yep. So at this point, Edmonton and Colorado are just trying to win some divisional playoff spots, get home
Yeah,
ice advantage, or not play their top player, top team in the division. So that's what's happening
I
now.
I strongly hope that LA wins their division and somehow Colorado gets the wild card spot and they play each other because I think the West runs through 3 teams. Vegas, sorry, 4 teams I should say. Vegas, LA, Colorado, and Edmonton, right? Obviously Vegas is highly talented everywhere. LA just needs a consistent goalie, and they did pick up Corpusalo, so we'll see how that is.
He's been good this season.
Colorado, yeah, he's been really good this season. Colorado, obviously the defending cup champs, and Edmonton's actually been playing pretty fine since 2023. Just don't play Jack Campbell, please, God. I don't. Oh, this guy is so bad. The Oilers are like top five in both offensive and defensive analytics, and yet Jack Campbell has been absolute trash every game he's played. So just don't play him, please. Um,
It's weird. I feel like the Oilers even like break down when he's in net, which is weird. That shouldn't happen, but it does.
Cause like it kills your confidence when he lets in a bad goal and like, oh my god, really that goes in.
Yeah.
It's yeah. Now I know what Leaf fans felt last season. It's not fun, but yeah, there's like what a month or so left in the year. In a week or two, we will have a playoff outlook. Of the playoffs. I mean, even though the West is set, the East should. I mean, the East wildcard could change in a week, right? So we'll get a playoff outlook done. We'll definitely get our predictions in for the playoffs, and yeah, it'll be a fun next couple months in the NHL. Anything else to add on, Q?
No, I think that's all for me.
All right, so thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.